Asta Rosa has survived it and the heat and the sunshine. Now he's off on his own down the road. Right, I'm going to attempt here, Sean's watching the pictures, to come very quickly to what's happened so far. Of this drop down of the Col de Châteauneuf. Going back then, after 11 kilometres, the Col d'Aise, cracking climb. Hamilton was first, Cardoso second, Barbosa third, Pinot into fourth spot. Hamilton then in the polka dot jersey, riding for the CSC team, motivated by Bjorn Ries, went up there to get some more points for that competition. After 43 kilometres, the Col de Châteauneuf, we went up, if you're looking on your maps, went up north of Nice. They'd covered 38 kilometres in the first hour, and over the top, a breakaway group that had formed on the descent of the Col d'Aise went over the top in the order of Oriol from the AG2R team, Etcheverria from the Escatel team, and Galvez, who joined them halfway through between the Col d'Aise and the Col de Châteauneuf. He was there in third spot, and the rest following on. The gap then was only 1 minute and 30 seconds. We came down into Nice, where the crowd began to gather around the barriers, watched them sprint through. In fact, they didn't really sprint, they rode through the 3 leaders. Oriol was first, Etcheverria in second spot, Galvez third, and the main field was coming through at the back of them at about 3 minutes, and so that was a concern then that they might be caught, and as the gap was coming down on the climb up to Col d'Aise. In fact, it got within 30 seconds, but they still hung up over there with Oriol, Etcheverria and Galvez in that order. Hamilton coming over in 30 seconds, Sousa Barbosa and Heinkman and Venencroft behind that. That 30-second lead, well, it lasted a bit longer. They stretched it again. They went over the Col de Châteauneuf, and by them they'd been swept up, and at the Col de Châteauneuf they'd been caught, and after a spirited effort by Parra, it was Yecker, Barbarossa, Parra and Barbosa and Hamilton just behind. So that's the situation. We brought you up to date. We've just gone through about 40 kilometres to go. It'll probably pop on your screens. We're close to that 40 kilometres. That's 25 miles in English money, which is about an hour and a bit of racing today, because they have got to go again up the Col d'Aise and come back up the Col d'Aise with only 16 kilometres to go and to finish. That's 10 miles English money. Sean Kelly's been making all the notes, but now, Sean, let's just talk before we come back to things you've seen so far. Now, this Col d'Aise, I can't remember this race going 3 times up Col d'Aise on the final day. I mean, you've ridden this race in the past, you've won it 7 times, you've commentated with me on it as well, but this seems to be a rather vicious attempt by the organisers this year to make this race, I don't know, I suppose survival of the fittest, because we started 118, and looking at the pack now, we'd be lucky to finish 40 or 50 riders.
Yes, I think that's the case. It's a very hard stage today, and as you said, I think there's a lot of riders going to drop out, and we're hearing, radio tour for the bunch. There's riders getting dropped off the main bunch all the time. So when they come down to Nice here, before they go out to do the last lap and to go up Col d'Aise once again for the 3rd time, there's a lot of them going to throw in the towel and go to the showers. So I would say, if we see ourselves finish with 50 or 60 riders, it will be the maximum.
Shall I have a bet on how many finish? Because somebody said to me there'll be only 40 finished.
Well, it's very possible, depending on what way the riders are feeling that are hanging in there in the bunch, and depending on how many we have left in the main bunch here. We can't really see how many we have left at the moment, but it could be down to 40, 45 riders in the main bunch.
One man who won't make it to finish is Baden Cook, who lives about 200 yards down the road from the finishing line here. Baden has had a very sore back. When he rode the time trial, he told me this morning that he'd hurt his back in the time trial position. He'd sold it on and to this particular point, but his teammate said, look, ride round the mountains now, stay in there, and when you feel that you had enough, just drop off and go back home. Matthew Wilson, his teammate, had already gone home a couple of days ago because he injured his knee, and again he was told don't push it too much. At the early season you can get injuries, and he's been told also to retire. Speaking to Bradley Wiggins this morning, Bradley is also going to join them, but he says he wants to ride all the way round. Bradley will join them, and we also have Brad McGee, who is living next door to Baden Cook. So you can imagine they're going, not tomorrow, they're going to have a day off, but they're going training, and that little lot then, Matthew Wilson, Baden Cook, Brad McGee and Bradley Wiggins, all off round the roads round here, putting in some training ready for the next event they've got coming. Nice to have so many English-speaking riders, particularly Brits soldiering on. And Bradley yesterday, when he went to the first category climb there, he was still with the pack. He did his job. He kept his teammates in contention, and then on the climb he just drifted back to a very group of riders, and he came in 80 minutes down yesterday, looking very fit, and I think he's learning a lot from this race. Julian Wynne too finished 74th yesterday in that group containing Tyler Hamilton. So Julian doing another great ride. Excuse me for those of you who listen to Eurosport's coverage outside Great Britain, and I'm sort of emphasis upon the Brits, but certainly this is going to be the prominent des Anglais when they come down here, and I hope both of them finish. Certainly Bradley says he can do it, and Wynne was under pressure from his teammates, and his team leader said, look, you don't have to go all the way around. But somehow I saw him come steaming through here a lap or so ago, and he looked very good indeed. So congratulations to the British champion. Sean, this business about getting off, I mean, yesterday all these riders climbed off. We had 27 of them stop at the feed. A lot of people say, well, that's not the thing to do, but at this time of the year, what sort of damage can you do if you keep going in the cold like we had yesterday and you're not in any position to win?
Well, I think yesterday it was a shock to the riders when they came out yesterday morning, and the temperatures had dropped so much compared to what we had right through the week. So it was difficult. It was difficult for the riders to adapt, and the way they raced, of course, I think that was the most important yesterday. They went really from the start. They went so bloody hard, and the bunch was blown to pieces, and there was riders everywhere. So if they kept going, I don't know if they would even have measured inside the time limit because they were blowing out so early. You know, it's difficult for the riders to go on, but we see the guys from Telecom, you know, they had a problem. Bobby fell off, and they had to wait, and then they arrived at the feeding station where there was everybody else climbed off, 25 or 30 riders, so they were on their own, but they kept going because they have interest here today to defend the jersey of Vinugcroft.
He told me this morning, Bobby Julich, that actually he fell off at 36.8 kilometres. And I said, how do you know? He said, well, I smashed my bike and I got it back this morning and the computer was stopped at 36.8 kilometres. That's the accuracy of the Americans. And he said that once they were abandoned them, or the other blokes abandoned, they had to go on, the three off the back. There was Honda was with him as well, and also the back then was Ed, and they soldiered on, and they got in at the finish with 45 seconds to go. They were just inside the minute. 45 seconds, they'd been eliminated outside the time limit, but they rode on when all the other guys climbed off. They kept going through, and Bobby Julich this morning, he's got his elbow well and truly strapped up, and he said when he fell off, he took a great chunk out of his elbow. It was so big that when they took him to the hospital, a local one at the finish yesterday, they said, hey, this is beyond us, you must go and see a specialist. He went to a specialist, and the specialist said, the best thing we can do is cut some more skin out, and then you must see a plastic surgeon. He said, no, just stitch it up and I'll start today. And he's out there now with this elbow, which must be giving him jip, because he wants to ride for Vinugcroft, who's got the yellow jersey. He's from the Telecom team now, Bobby Julich, the American, who was third overall in the Tour de France a few years ago. That shows you the guts of these riders, and they wanted to get in there to help Vinugcroft keep that yellow jersey. And when they come down the finishing straight, we hope that cameras might pick up the banners in front of us, which is there from the Kiwi Club in memory of Kivilev. He's got his own club here, 73 Le Courbier, one for Vinugcroft too as well. And so you can imagine how the riders, particularly from the Telecom team, wanted to do what they could to survive yesterday, despite that crash which took out Bobby Julich, and his two men went back to collect him, take him through. Sean, you've seen many heroism in the past, but certainly that was a great ride yesterday to survive that distance, those three riders.
Yes, it was you know, a magnificent ride, and you know, considering when you have riders behind, it's always difficult, and you know, it was a really special situation, but you know, you have to take your hat off for him to continue on.
Right.
The Paris-Nice live.
Explore Canada and discover our true nature.
Ooh, them bones, them bones, them. Drive on them bones, them bones, them. Lots of legroom, plenty of headroom, so much space that it can swallow a dinosaur whole. The spacious new Hyundai Getz.
Try them all. The new SV1000S. The Paris-Nice Live. We race for better hearing. Phonak Hearing Systems.
Watching these three riders who are not far in front of the main pack. They'll be coming in through Nice before going out on this next circuit, on this Paris-Nice stage, the final stage, 160 kilometres, and we're watching these riders here having a go. Milanese MSS from Portugal. We don't often see them on Eurosport until we go covering the Spanish race, but they've ridden extremely well so far in this race. They're just trying to stay out there, but somehow I think they're going to be swallowed up. They've been aided and abetted by Para from the Kelme team, and these riders now coming on the flatter part of the course after the mountainous course we had today. One man has been round the course today, Jim Ockowicz. I think you went round in the comfort of a car, Jim. Your quick comment about the course.
Well, it wasn't in the car. I took the bike, actually.
Come on, you're joking.
I had to.
You did?
Sure.
Jim Ockowicz, those people back in home say, here's an American Jordan. Where's he come from? Way back, correct me if I'm wrong, 7-Eleven as a bike rider, then on to Motorola when I think you became in the management side, or we may have changed halfway through that, and then of course involved the US Postal. Now, who are you with? What hats are you wearing now?
Well, actually, I started 7-Eleven also, so we were the first American team, as you know, in the Tour de France in 1986, and then went on with Motorola with Lance Armstrong. And the hats I wear right now is, you know, I make a living and get paid to be a financial advisor for Thomas Weisel Partners in San Francisco.
And they make a lot of money.
And they make a lot of money for their clients. But the other hats I wear really are with the UCI. I'm on the Pro Cycling Council, and we sort of set the rules and regulations up for what you're seeing here today, and keep an eye on what's going on and try to add value from time to time. The second thing I am is president of USA Cycling, which is the federation that runs BMX, mountain bike, and road cycling in the United States.
Man of many parts. You've joined us about halfway through this race. I think you've got some connection with Phonak, one of our sponsors of the race too, as well.
Yeah, one of the more fun things that I'm doing actually is working as a consultant for the Phonak cycling team. They're hoping for a wild card selection May 15th for their first Tour de France. And are making some good progress. You see some of the boys here in the race today, and Kamenzin, of course, is a rider who's got a lot of credibility and has done a lot in the sport up to this point, and will do a lot more for the Phonak team as well this year.
Well, that's going to be interesting. They'll be battling for a place in the Tour de France. Just to let you know, those who are watching our live coverage here, the gap is just over a minute, 1 minute and 5 seconds for our three riders down the road, and the pressure now being put on by the riders from Telecom to pull it back together. They're going to come through the finishing line, then go up the Col d'Ez and come back in to finish in Nice. The Tour de France has become so big, gargantuan, I think it is, and your man Lance Armstrong, what's his chances of winning it this year for the 5th time? Come on, Jim, can we put you on the spot?
Well, I feel pretty good about it, but you know, Lance doesn't really think about that. I think he thinks about the race itself and the preparation that he needs to do and the training, and he's already started that process. And you know, with the kind of work that he does and the team that he has behind him, he's by far, I think, the best prepared when the gun goes off in Paris this year for the start. And will be probably the favorite and the toughest guy out there to beat. So with saying all that, I don't want to say that it's a shoo-in, but I think he's got a pretty good chance.
Hey, I love this American terms. Hey, do you hear that? A shoo-in. Now we're getting things here. I mean, Sean Kelly has a few Irish things to say, but now we're getting American on this. And we had the Welsh guy Julian Wynn with us the other day too. Talk about bringing the changes. They're coming into finishing straight in a minute now, and we'll watch them come through here, Jim. And then I'd just like to touch base In fact, they're curling round. They've got a bit to go. On Hamilton and Bobby Julich, just before you came to join us, talking about Bobby Julich's courage yesterday after that crash to soldier on, to be there today to help Werner Croft. And of course, Hamilton with that unusual. We don't see him do things like that. Just a few words about those two guys in particular.
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate yesterday to be in the car with Daniel Ball, so I was following the race in the front the whole day, and so I was behind Tyler when he was away solo for quite a while yesterday, and I saw the crash, which wasn't really that dramatic. He just sort of slipped and went down, didn't get hurt, got back up right away and got going. The problem with that, of course, is that you lose your momentum, and he had to make a bike change again after that. But it was a good effort on his part because the race was the weather was tough, and it was a pretty fast tempo from the peloton from behind. But Tyler, you know, is another rider I think that's preparing for the Tour de France. He did a great Tour of Italy last year, and I'm not sure they're going back to do that yet. But
no, he said that he finished second last year, and they've now said go to ride the Tour de France. Yeah. So even if the team goes, it will not contain Tyler. His target now is the Tour de France.
He's a good rider, and he'll be the leader for their team, I'm sure, at the Tour. He is the best GC rider in their organization. As far as Bobby Julich's concerned, I think that, you know, he's now in a team where he's been there a couple of years, knows his place, understood that yesterday when he did crash and then he had a problem, he had to do the best he could to finish because today's another day and it's a new day and you've got to defend the jersey and they need the bodies out there to do that. So he knew he had to do that, and as a professional you get up and you do your job.
Thanks, Jim. We're just watching these riders coming through now. You see them been racing for 3 hours and 20 minutes. They're coming through the finish line here at Nice with another little trip to go. They're 27 kilometers left in the race as there they go, whipping round, and this beautiful Promenade des Anglais with the palm trees, and here they go round the bend, and they're going to go out and turning a sharp right, and off they go back up into the Col d'Ez, this big climb ahead of us. We're watching the whole field now, and probably going to pull them back because the glory of winning the last stage is there for so many riders, but the field is absolutely pulled back down now to probably only a third of those that started. Jim, I'll get Sean back in to help some commentary now, but before we do that, we've just been talking about Bobby Julich and Tyler Hamilton and the aims and ambitions of Lance Armstrong. What's the level of cycling like in America? Because you've got a big hat to wear there.
Well, we have a great opportunity, and we have had for some time now, to build our sport, and we like to call it the Lance effect. But he's really brought a lot of visibility to the sport of cycling in America, and as a result, the industry has really picked up and has been really strong, and is supporting our sport across the board, both the BMX, the mountain bike, and the road and track cycling. We're going to be building a new velodrome in Los Angeles, and we've got the World Championships for the juniors in 2004 and the Senior Professional World Championships in 2005 coming to Los Angeles in our new indoor velodrome. And with our San Francisco Grand Prix, our Philadelphia Grand Prix, and now the Tour of Georgia on the UCI calendar, you know, we're starting to get some traction and movement, and it's all in a real positive light. And I couldn't be happier as president of that organization to see that kind of growth, and of course to be there in Paris also for the last several years, and this year again to see our riders, our American riders, up in the front and doing their best to be putting on a good show for all of us.
Jim, you're a busy guy. Thanks for joining us at the commentary point now, and we wish you the best of luck. I'm sure the Brits will, because we're a nation which also is not well recognised in cycling. We're getting better slowly but surely. We haven't got round to winning the Tour de France, but for all your guys when you get back home, give them the best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you in the season as it unfolds, and maybe from time to time you'll come back into Eurosport and give us the benefit of your experience, which is great, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate it.
Well, there we are. We get the old fishing net out and go and catch as many people as we can do. But I hope you don't mind those people back at home who don't know anything about cycling, because what I'm trying to do on our program is bring in the internationalism of cycle racing, because that is exactly what it is. I think there was something like 27 riders from different nations, or 27 different nations. In fact, 24 different nations, that's right, started in this Paris-Nice. 157 riders from 24 nations, and in there were just single riders like from Belarus, Colombia, Lithuania, Poland, the Czech Republic, Venezuela, and they went up through the list, and we even had 2 there from Great Britain. That was Julian Wynne and Bradley Wiggins in there, and so on up to the big major nations. France had 39 starters, Spain 29, Germany 12, Italy 11, and so on. It's a big worldwide sport. Also, it's a free sport because you can stand on the side of the road. The people here watching them come through, some have come from Great Britain, and they're just enjoying the sunshine here. They got a cheap flight to come out and watch the race go through, and the crowd applauding them as they go through there. And there, Julian Wynne, I can see the British national championship jersey. He's still going to ride this all the way through. The white jersey with the red, white and blue bands around it. I mean, that is great courage for a man who just 12 months ago was riding a 2-day up in Morecambe, and here he is going on the Promenade des Anglais with a group of riders who've got shelled out the back. But to just finish this course is something in itself. It is a classic. It's been running for 61 years, and Sean Kelly here, having won it for 7 times in succession, Mark. You not just 7 times, but 7 times in succession. Sean, you've been on this race. You've won it in the past. You've joined me. Looking back quickly at the race this year, to me, it's been quite an unusual race with many different things happening.
Yes, well, it certainly has been a very different race and a difficult one. One of the most difficult, I'd say, for many years, or maybe the most difficult. And the race, as you said, David, you went through on a few occasions. We had a lot of things happening in this race, but I think the thing is to consider is the route has been very difficult this year, and especially with this stage today, finishing with those sorts of climbs with Col d'Aise and Châteauneuf, it's made it very, very difficult, as we can see. As we see here now, we're going on to Col d'Aise for the last time. 3 times up Col d'Aise, it's a very, very difficult day. But when you throw in Châteauneuf as well, and as Jim Okovich said, he said Châteauneuf is probably more difficult than Col d'Aise. So that gives you an idea of how difficult the stage is today after a very hard week.
But normally we have. It's sank 25 kilometres from the finish, and the Toison de Tête, the 3 guys up in front now, have just got over a minute lead. This Col d'Aise they're tackling now has been normally a time trial. So are you for or against what we're seeing today?
Well, I think it's made the race more difficult, and I think there are a lot of riders not happy with this final day. And I think the question was answered yesterday when you see so many riders just giving up at the feeding station because they knew today was going to be a really difficult one for them. So they had lost the morale already yesterday, and they just with the way the stage went as well yesterday, very cold in the morning. We had some rain at the start, and it raced very, very difficult. So they were shelled out because yesterday was a very difficult day, not climbs like we have today, but there's no flat on yesterday's stage at all. It's all up and down, and there's never any time for recover. And the way they raced yesterday from the start, it killed off a lot of riders. Anyone who was feeling a little bit tired and was left behind, they just decided to climb off at the feeding station.
And what about Vinokurov yesterday, the determination to stay there when he lost his teammates and he still rode on hard at the front, eh?
Yes, well, Vinokurov, he's had difficult yesterday because he was very much isolated from teammates around him yesterday because of the problems they had with Bobby falling off and the riders waiting, and the way the race went, like there was never going to get back on. So you have to take a hat off to him. The way he's rode yesterday, but also he had some of the other teams who probably gave him a handout because of the situation. We see some of the other teams giving a dig out in the front, like the Cofidis riders, they were giving him a handout.
And certainly, yes, I did speak this morning, and the feeling was because Bobby Julich was brought down by one of the Cofidis riders, the Cofidis riders went to front to help in the chase down, because Bobby was brought down by Cofidis purely by accident. He was lying second in line, and that's why they went down the front to help Vinokurov, because they knew the other riders in Telecom were out the back.
The Paris-Nice Live.
With supernatural British Columbia, explore Canada's winter resort playground.
Thanks to its cycling team, Phonak is increasing the awareness of millions of people about the issue of hearing problems. Being hard of hearing leads to social isolation. Phonak develops hearing systems that are both discreet and highly effective. For improved quality of life, talk to your hearing professional.
One in 3 women will get osteoporosis. Osteoporosis weakens bones. It causes fractures and can be fatal. But osteoporosis can be detected early. It can be treated. If you knew something that could harm you was coming, wouldn't you avoid it? Find out if you're at risk for osteoporosis. Take the 1-minute risk test.
The Paris-Nice Live. We race for better hearing. Phonak hearing system.
We're on the Col d'Ez for the last time. They've been up this one 3 times in all, and on this climb now they're going to cut back off the top, straight back into the finish in Nice. They've come from 2 different directions actually today, but one of the riders, the MSS, has just gone off the back, and a bit of groups of riders just gone through, hit the finishing straight. They're still way off the back. They're determined to finish. It's been a hard day in the saddle. The sun is beating down, but it's not that warm, and you can see on your front now the activity, and Vundercroft has got to watch this here, because the riders down the road are no threat over on general classification, but going back quickly down the overall classification if he didn't see the start of our program. I'm David Duffield. Alongside me is Sean Kelly. We've been with this race since it started on Sunday. It's been a fascinating race all the way through, and it's coming down to this final run up the Col d'Ez. Vundercroft wearing the yellow jersey. He had 43 seconds lead this morning over Zarabezia from the Onse team. He wears 108 to his back, and this is where he put the pressure on to do something about it. Rebellim of the Gelostana team was 3rd this morning at 54 seconds. Jaska was 4th from the Onse team at 55 seconds, and Chavanel, who's driving hard here this morning, was 1 minute 24 seconds down. Sylvain Chavanel, he's really the darling of the French sport spectators now, because he won the 4 days at Dunkirk last year. He took the Trophy de Grandpa as well. He's a new hope. He's wearing the blue jersey because he's the best rider on the under 23 classification, and he's really screwing this one up, because he'd like to climb over Jaska from the Onse team, who wears 101. 2 of the Onse riders there then, and now they're under pressure from Chavanel. What is this going to do to, in fact, I think he's back now, to the yellow jersey, Sean? Does this sort of rush, attack make it easier or worse for him? In fact, he's gone again.
Yes, well, Chavanel is very active here. He seems to be, riding very strong, because the way he's attacking here, but Vundercroft is reacting quite well. We've seen him here. He's never seemed to be in any major trouble or problems for the moment, and I don't think, normally if he's on a good day, I don't think any of those guys can drop him, because the way he went up Montferrand, it was very impressive. But Chavanel definitely, he's been riding very strong. We see him yesterday, of course, in the final, really strong, and today he's putting it up to a lot of these guys. He's stirring it up a lot in the main bunch.
And there he is, riding quite comfortably. They make it look so easy, don't they, coming up here? In fact, I was talking to a chap today who came behind our commentary box. He's actually working at the Bath Royal United Hospital. He's a builder there, and they've been doing some extension to the cancer ward. And he said last year I rode up the Mont Ventoux, and he said, the riders get up there in 40 minutes. He said, and I rode them. It took me 2 hours to get up the Mont Ventoux. They get up there in 40 minutes. So they make it look so easy the way they ride up here, but that's an experience of somebody who has, effectively, he was from Liverpool, now living down near Bristol, working on the hospital at Bath, the Royal United Hospital, who I would like to say thank you to those people there when I had a few problems and went in the old zapping thing with this radiotherapy, and they've sorted it all out for me. They took things away and they cut it out and gave it away and took some more off recently, and my thanks. But the National Health Service gets a lot of crap in the press, but those who've been there will know that they do the best they can, and they do a bloody good job too as well. So anyway, going back to climbing, this fellow approached me and he said, unbelievable how these riders go up here. They make it look so easy, but it is so steep. And look at the way they're going here. It's just like they're riding up a normal slight slope. But if our cameras go back down there, you can see in the distance the Mediterranean. They started, they came through the Promenade des Anglais on just about 10 meters above sea level, and now they're going up and up and up, and it's a hard climb of something like about 10 kilometers, and it doesn't let up at all. Sean, you've been up here a few times in your career, and this is a backbreaker, and now for the third time, and this is masochistic at the least, isn't it?
Yes, it's quite a steep climb, and it's always you know, difficult to see on the TV the shots we get. It doesn't never look as steep as it is, but when you're out there, it is cold days. There's quite steep sections in it. Although at the moment where they are now, it levels off a bit before you go up to the final sector of it. But these guys, yes, are you know, really climbing well, and I think the answer to the question how steep it is and how hard those climbs are, we see the groups coming through on the last lap there. In the leading group, we had, you know, less than 40 riders, maybe 35 riders, and then another group of about 25 riders which contained Richard Virenque. And when you see him being dropped, even if he's not in his best shape, it's very difficult to get rid of him on a climb. So it proves that it is you know, very, very difficult stage today.
I saw the polka dot jersey still hanging on in there with Hamilton surviving this one. What an up and down race he had. He was second in the time trial, went to the Saint-Etienne on the stage 3, well, stage 2 actually, was third day of racing, and he had a bad day, lost about 6.5 minutes. And now Chavanel coming up here and having yet another go. Sean, I mean, is this bravado, or is it something which will help him overall? Because there he is on general classification, 1 minute 24 seconds down, so he's got something round about 29 seconds to drop Jaschke off the back, and he's got to do it and come down the other side. Or is this just showing that here I am, and you lot watch out for in the future, because you know, I've got the talent? It seems to me a bit, how can I put it, bravado or enthusiasm? How would you put it?
No, I think he's riding for the general classement. He's hoping that, you know, by making it more difficult for the guys who are in this main group of Vinnycroft, and as you said, to go up on the general classement, he's trying for that. But also there's a stage victory possible if he can maybe get away here with a couple of riders. We see him yesterday. You know, he was riding very hard. He put a lot of effort in the last number of kilometres to try and pull out the seconds to move up the general. But he also had the stage, which if he get away in a small group, possibly he could take the stage as well. But I think the most important thing and the thing on his mind is to move up in the general classement.
Good there to see Arvesen in the jersey of the champion of Norway, riding up there. He was 12th this morning general classification, 2 minutes 22 seconds down, and he's the rider that Britain's national champion Julian Wynne has been riding for. They had to keep Arvesen in contention today because yesterday Joe Pedersen, Bo Pedersen, he actually crashed. Sorry, Jay comes down whichever way it is, but anyway, he crashed yesterday, so they were down to one man to look after, and so the 20 kilometres to go to finish, by the way. Now Arvesen's still in there, 12th, and I've got a suspicion that one or two of the riders up in the top places before him might begin to suffer under pressure that's been going on. And to me then, looking at this little lot as well on our screen, then these Milanese MSS riders, if you've got an award for the team of the match, not just the man of the match, they've been having a go, because I wouldn't say they were a second-rate team coming in, but we don't see much of them. They come from Portugal, and they've got a mixture of riders with them, and every day we've seen them having a go. And here we are, the peloton at 1 minute back, and they're still surviving out there. So these are three leaders. We haven't seen much of them going back to Chavanel, but these three are surviving, I think, at the front at the moment. And can they hang on? That's the question. Still again, as ever, the rider from the Calme team putting the pressure on the two riders from MLS, and another battle going on behind for that yellow jersey being worn by Vinnycroft of the Telecom team. Sure, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That looking back, I see some more that Milanese MSS riders. They really have been a revelation. What we've seen, they've got them down the front. They've got them back in here as well. Is there a chance for teams like that to come up in today's cycling? Because we are seeing one or two teams who catch the big teams napping, and this race to me has said, hey, are they trying to push the Tour de France organisers, because they organise the races as well, say we should ride the big tour, because that would be a real revelation.
Well, certainly on the ride they're being putting up the last couple of days, especially yesterday, the way we see him in the final there was 5 of them riders riding on the front of the bunch trying to pull that break in the final kilometres, and here they are today. They have 2 riders up the front, very, very active, doing a lot of the driving, and as you said, in the bunch here there's still a number of them left, so there's very few teams with, you know, more than 2 or 3 riders here. As we see now in the shot of the bunch, we can see 2 of the riders here side by side, so you know, that's 5 of them up in the contention of the race all the time. Very few teams have got that, so why not you know, be in contention for a wild card for the Tour of France.
And the orange jerseys, as ever, Escotello, Escoti team, they're always prepared to have a go. The chap there just behind in the white jersey with the, it's actually dark blue, it's almost black colour over his shoulders. That is Davide Rebellin. He had the leader's jersey just briefly in this tour. It's been changing so many times. The first day we had Nico Matan taking up the prologue time trial, and then it changed again after that as we went through further on down with O'Grady taking it on the second day with the time bonuses. And then Rebellin on the run in towards Saint-Etienne, he went across the line in first spot, got time bonus, took the yellow jersey. Then next day the race was annulled because of the sad death of Kivilev having crashed within 15 kilometres of his home, and he was no longer in the race. So we had a day when the race was annulled. There was no racing going on down to the Pont de Garde, and so the battle then was taken back on again with the time trial, which was run by Frigo. Frigo won the time trial. He then took on the yellow jersey, but overnight he was sick and he had a high temperature, and so he couldn't start the next day. So the jersey technically went to the man in the yellow jersey, now Vinocrop, but he wouldn't ride in that. He rode on in the green jersey, and by rights now on the stage at the Montferrand, he took that yellow jersey, and he's still there now battling to hold it. Looking then at those riders who climbed off on stage 6 of the race, and we're now on stage 7. There's a 27 on, by the way. Interesting though, people like Robbie McEwen, the sprinters were climbing up, but Robbie now is looking for the Milan-San Remo. That's his target next time round. And going down the next page, Stuart O'Grady, also at the frame, is also looking for the Milan-San Remo, which is next weekend. It's on the Saturday. Unfortunately, we're not going to get on Eurosport. And Moncuti down there, by the way, he went like stink on the climb up to Montferrand, but I think he climbed up. Didn't he crash or something, Sean? If he timed the rise up, Moncuti must have been the fastest on that day.
Yes, that's true. He was tied up in the crash at the bottom of the Montferrand, and he had to put his foot down. He didn't actually come down himself, but you know, he made an unbelievable recovery to come up through the bunch. Considering the roads are very narrow, it's difficult to pass the riders on the Ferrand, and you know, we see him finishing so strong. But then yesterday he pulled out. I think he crashed actually yesterday, and he was very nervous. I heard Jean-Francois Bernal saying these wet roads yesterday were very slippery, and that was probably the reason that he did decide to pull out, because he's really nervous, and I'm not surprised that he's nervous at this moment because of what we went through during the week.
Yes, it was a very bad day. In fact, Julian Wynne, the British champion, he also crashed yesterday. He just said, you know, you go round the bends and suddenly it's wet and slippery and down you go, but he got back on his bike, as some riders did yesterday. Those that who retired yesterday, many of them had very good reasons to retire. They were sick, they'd fallen off, but some of them, like the sprinters, knew that today there was no other sprinters were going to get in to the fray. Pataki, who won stage 2 of the race, or in fact the actual first day on the road, but we had the time trial on the Sunday on stage 1 on the road. Pataki got that one. He also didn't start yesterday, so we've lost quite a number. 118 left in this race, or 157 starters, so we lost 40 of the riders as at this morning, and I think we're going to lose a lot more. You have to acknowledge the courage and determination of those who, particularly those like Bradley Wiggins and Julian Wynne, who are going on. They're determined to finish, and a lot of riders will do just that. Others know that they must protect their bodies, because if you press yourself too hard this time of the year, then you can pay for it later on. And Brad McGee, who lives also just down the road from where we're commentating now, said the first show he rode the Pyrenees, he pushed himself too hard, and it really made his season a lot harder. And quite a stir coming on here. Sean, going back to this business about riders pressing themselves too much at this part of the year, and we take our hats off those who survived it. Is it something that you happens, and it's called Easter knees when you do damage stuff early in the season. Is it enthusiasm that keeps you going? Or how can you measure your body and say, I shouldn't push myself this much in a race like this one? You run it 7 years, you push yourself all the way through, but presumably you came in trained for this one. Otherwise, weren't quite fit enough. How do you know that you shouldn't go any harder?
Well, it's a feeling that you have, you know yourself, the way the body reacts after each stage and the recovery. So those riders, a lot of them, or most of them, would know that feeling, and they know how much they have trained, of course, and they'll be able to calculate all that. Some of the younger guys, it's probably difficult for them to calculate how good they have to be, how much they have to be trained. So for them, they're going into a bit of uncertainty. But, most of the riders, the guys who have done a number of years, let's say, they would have the experience. And sometimes it takes, it's not clean cut that you do so many kilometres and you're going to be in shape. Sometimes you need a bit more some years than others, and that's something you just have to work on. But it's never, if you do 3,000 or 5,000 miles, it's not exactly with that amount you're going to be in your perfect shape.
Well, there they are, the remnants of the race now. That we're coming together, I think, on the descent, but these are riders in contention for the top places on the general classification, coming for the final time up the Col d'Ez. And those who've been with us watching our programme throughout the last week will no doubt join us in respecting the courage, determination of these riders. In fact, Avril Miller, when I phoned, because she, the mother of David Miller, had a conversation with David Miller in the morning. He's riding the Tirreno Adriatico at the moment, and if you want to check up what he's up to, it's www.itsmillertime.com. He sent his condolences over the wire to everybody, and in particular for them to join in the support to Kivilev, who had that crash. And Avril said she was gutted when she heard about the death of Kivilev. She said, but what a terrible waste. But even so, she said how brave these riders are, how heroic they are in what they do every day. And I think that you would agree with me, spectators who may not have seen much cycling before, but have maybe staying with us, having watched the coverage which we've been giving you of the Nordic World Cup competition with David Goldstrom, bringing you a programme before this one. After this programme, we're going on to athletics, the indoor championships, for those who are watching live coverage at Birmingham with Tim Hutchins and Derek Redmond. So we do pick up viewers from other sports, and a lot of things are said about cyclists over the years, but for my money, these guys are fit, they're enthusiastic, and yesterday the way we saw Hamilton going away, and we're just hearing something about Hamilton on our headphones. Sean, what's the news coming over? I'm just having difficulty picking up at the moment.
Well, after the last time up the Col d'Ez, Bernabeu was first over the top with Yecker and Para third, Lefebvre from De La Tour and Sanchez from Escatel fourth and fifth. But on this points classement, Hamilton wins the mountain classement outright.
That's good news for the CSC team from Denmark. And to Bjorn Ries, I spoke in this morning, past winner of the Tour de France, now running the CSC team. And Bjorn doesn't often say something, but this morning he was a little more relaxed, and he said to me that he told Hamilton yesterday, he said, go for it. And he said that he told Hamilton, you've got nothing to lose, go out and do something, get the experience, and off he went. And that's exactly what happened. And so he's now got the experience, and not only that, he seemed to be enjoying it yesterday. And not only that, as Bjorn Ries said this morning, he's gained respect from the rest of the pack. So he'll have that jersey, and exactly what Bjorn Ries did with Laurent Jalabert, pushing him last year, not pushing him physically, but just encourage him to go on and go on. And so that was the situation then, with Hamilton being encouraged and giving a little bit of encouragement from his team manager Bjorn Ries, and now he's got that polka dot jersey for goods right to the finish. Dropping off the Col d'Ez, sweeping down the other side. This is probably what I call a tricky way coming down, but it's less dangerous than the one they've just gone up, and they're all sprung out now with the riders getting down here. It's off the top of that climb, 16 kilometres to go into the finish, and they'll flatten down at the bottom and just run in towards a big crowd waiting in the sunshine. Still a cold wind for the spectators who've come, some of them from Britain, who've caught cheap flights to Nice, and if you're watching it now and saying, well, I wouldn't mind coming next year. Do just that. Watch it on your national magazines to find out what the date is. Book yourself some flights. It's not that expensive. Come out here and enjoy the situation. You can also, if you're probably hearing the background from the public address, is coming booming out with Daniel Monjas. There's an enormous big screen there, so people can, they're here in their shirt sleeves watching the big screen and listening to Daniel Monjas, who's talking about what you see here on your screen right now. So we just hear, I think Simone has now got himself back up in that first pack. So there's another man who's ridden extremely well. He finished second on that stage at the Montferrand and showing himself in good form, looking, I'm sure, for a better Tour of Italy this year than he had last year. Are they going to hang out there, Sean?
I would see it being difficult for them to hang out there because you know, the bunch, I think, is around the 20 seconds at the moment. I hear over radio tour. So, you know, but with the two guys from Milanese, I think, you know, they will sacrifice, one of them will sacrifice their chances for the other and will really ride to give it everything. So it's possible. I think it will be very, very tight.
But they're all split. I mean, the chase group, there's no, they're not in the wheel, are they? And it's not that dangerous. It's just the speed doing it. When we look down the Mediterranean, they come off the top of the col, and the sea today is much calmer. Yesterday, the waves are crashing against the seafront, and normally it doesn't happen like that because the Mediterranean isn't an open sea, as every schoolboy knows. In fact, if you blocked off the Mediterranean at the Strait of Gibraltar, you'd have just a thumping great salty lake, and there isn't the rise and fall that you have, like we have back in Great Britain with the Atlantic and North Sea coming in us, so it doesn't normally rise and fall much, and you'd often get great thumping waves coming. Yesterday we had it, and now they've climbed up the Col d'Ez, they're going down toward it. You'll see the Mediterranean shimmering in the background. They're heading down into and down the Promenade des Anglais, where the big crowd is waiting. And the Promenade des Anglais some years ago was built by the English to provide work for the unemployed in the district, and that's where they're going to finish, and that's where they're heading into now. And normally we have a sprint finish on the Promenade des Anglais in Nice, but it'll be a sprint of some sort this year. But you can confirm anyone from goodness knows how many guys in this bunch who could come together. Sean and I will try and put you in the picture when they get there, but this is not a normal finish for the Paris-Nice, Sean, in all your experience today.
No, it's certainly not. You know, we had never had a stage like this with so many hills to climb on the last day. So it's a totally different finish. Most years on the Promenade des Anglais, we usually see the sprinters winning because of a relatively flat stage, but it's not the case at all today. We had not many sprinters at the start, first of all, and the ones that were, you know, fancy themselves in the sprint, I don't think they were going to get to this finish in this first group because they have been blown out the rear door with quite some time ago now.
We also had a time trial finishing here a few years ago when it was Chris Boorman won the time trial on the Col d'Ez. If he's watching now, Chris will remember that time trial down here, but this is something different, I say. We also have Malcolm Elliott going well in the sprint. I'm not quite sure he won it or was second in some years ago. He's a good sprinter too for Great Britain, and now as they come down here, it's somebody new is going to put his name on the finishing list for the stage into Nice, and all over the place. Oh, he's not happy. What was he waving for like that? He wants his mate to come up to him?
No, I think he's not happy with the Onset rider. Jakska is chasing here. He seems to be, you know, not happy with that situation. The Escatel riders are quite active. These two, one of them, Salches, very active in the last number of kilometres. So with 10 kilometres to go, you know, with 20 seconds, if they're not a number of riders who start to ride here on the front together, if they just keep on attacking, I think it will be very difficult for them to pull this group back. But Salches, as you said, he's at 1:48 in the general 8th position, so it's normal that, you know, the guys from Owens, they are riding after, and they're not going to allow him to get away in case that he take too much of an advantage and move up in the general classement.
And there are 10, 6 and 4 seconds bonus at the end of this one, so there could be a shuffle in the pack here. But Chavanel was at 1 minute 24, Muller 1 minute 30, Gustav 1 minute 41, and Sanchez 1:48. So there are only 24 seconds. In fact, Bernardo from the Malaysia team, who's having a go out there too as well at the moment, was 1:51 down this morning. So we've got a whole load of riders with about 25 seconds between them and can split the position. And at the end, of course, there's a lot of dosh So they're going to ride like stink to try and get up there to win the stage that they can do, get a few seconds bonuses, because they can then move up, not only get UCI points, but they go home with a few euros in their back pocket. Talking about the euros, interesting thing is that since all the nations except Great Britain in the European Union switched to the euro, yes, they're just confirming that the 10 first riders over are in this pack, battling for the Euros. And at the general classification, as you go down, there's 8,093 euros for finishing first at the end of it all. Then 4,035, 2,779. Fourth is 2,168. Then 2,052. Now, I might be confusing with these numbers, but when France changed from the franc to the euro, to make sure nobody fiddled with the prices, everybody had to translate it straight over. So you imagine the organisers of the Tour de France, sorry, the Paris-Nice and the Tour de France, anybody else, when they came to publish their prize list in French francs, when they changed to euros, they're keeping it still in relation to the old French franc. So you get some very funny numbers coming up, and we're seeing that right now, that they're all going there. There's a lot of money to be won, but they're going to get some small change, because the winner of the stage today will get 2,161 euros, because it translated straight out of what was the French franc before. I hope I haven't confused you, but it's making it rather difficult here to look exactly how much they're going to be worth. And I think at the end they have to write checks. You can imagine the man paying them out in cash, trying to find the odd €1 for winning the stage, 2,161. Well, that's the way it is. Cycle racing sticking exactly to the translation from francs to euros, unlike many of the public, the bars and so on, and some of the providers of the restaurants who rounded things as usual up rather than down. Well, there they are. If you pay your money, you take your choice. And those riders then in the position 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, they're really going there, because there is quite a change between finishing in 5th spot and finishing in 8th or 9th in terms of financial reward, and of course UCI points, which are important too. So the top 10 men are there at the moment, having their own little battle, and we'll watch when they get back onto the front to make sure nobody doesn't get away off there, to see if we can try and pick a winner for you. But this is going to be very difficult. Chavanel now is, in fact, no, that's one of the riders from the Phonak team. Oh, it is Chavanel, but one of the Phonak riders must have gone out. So Chavanel going yet again. This guy will not give up, Sean.
No, he's certainly riding very, very strong. You know, today we've seen him in the action all the time. Yesterday, of course, he was, you know, very much to the fore in the end. So he's finished this race very strong, which is a good thing for him, because he came into this race and he was one of the favourites. But on the day to Saint-Etienne, he got left behind a bit, lost a bit of time. But I think he's made up for the French public and the French press at the moment.
5 kilometres to go to the finish. Chavanel then lying this morning 5th overall. He's 29 seconds down on Jaska from the Onse team. Now he's got caught by one of the Phonak riders, and a big Phonak gathering of the clans in the finish area. They've got a big special enclosure there where many of the Phonak distributors have come to watch this one, and so this man certainly is giving them money work. They can see it on the screen at the moment. Can you spot which one it is, Sean?
Perino.
Perino, well, he's lying in 10th spot, 2 minutes and 4 seconds down. Ahead of him, Bernardo from Milanese this morning was 1:51, so there's just 13 seconds between Perino and Bernardo. So they're having to go. So many riders with so much at stake, and he's determined. He's really ripping. And one of the riders coming across, I rather think this might be the rider from the lady in red. Oh, no, he's in the red coming down here at the moment. It's not the Brioche rider. Who's the rider in red?
I think
it's orange. No, it's
one of the Escartel riders. And there we get the times, of course, 20 seconds for the chasers and 25 seconds for the main group.
This could change quite a lot.
Well, it's finishing very, very fast now, but 25 seconds, for this group of whatever 15 to 20 riders max. It's going to be difficult for them to close down, because with the two riders from Milanese up front, I think one of them will ride, give it everything in the finish, and sacrifice and step for the other one and try and hold on out there. And they definitely deserve a stage, the Milanese guys, because they've been riding.
Vunderkroff's had a problem with his chain. Technical problem with Vunderkroff coming over headphones. I wonder if he's got a big problem. I don't think there's anybody with him from his team. No, there, he's got back. He's there, coming back. He's a little group now. He's off the back. Vunderkroff now is off the back, and he was 43 seconds down on Zadabesha this morning. 54 seconds down on Rebellin. Has Vunderkroff lost the tour with a chain problem? The Pyrenees up for grabs still. They're rushing down here. What a finish we had normally up and down the Promenade des Anglais. Looks Vunderkroff's coming back across that gap. He has to get there, catch up with Zadabesha and Rebellin and Jaska. But down the road, Chabanel, 124 down, and Vunderkroff is going like stink. Sean, how do you read it now?
Well, what a finish. Vunderkroff, his chain seemed to get blocked, they said, but he did not have to get off his bike. He seemed to be able to free it on the road, so lucky for him, he lost very little time, and he's able to come back into this group of the guys in the main classement, the danger men in the classement. So lucky for him that he did not have to put his foot down, because if he did, well, then it would be touch and go of losing this race.
Chabanel trying hard here, still trying to move up from 5th into 4th or even into 3rd. Rebellin's under pressure too as well, and because Rebellin was 55 seconds, 54, Jaska 55, and so in fact 30 seconds separates Chabanel from a place on the podium, as they call it, and the whole of France now watching on television, or those on the finish line watching up there on the big screen. The French supporters of this race, they whip round now, and they go down. They've got to go along the front and turn at the end and come back again. What a finish. Beautiful, beautiful setting. The sun is shining, and who's going to get the sun shining on him with 1 kilometre to go in the distance, and off the road, down he goes again from the riders from the MSS and the Camry team. They'll take the time bonuses, that's for sure. That could help the overall situation. Just down the back then, it'll be to time gaps. They get themselves the time bonus could go to these three. I don't think they're going to get caught now. What's the gap you heard last time, Sean? It's pretty close.
Yes, it's around the 10 seconds we see there, and Bernard Beau has just went ahead there, and he's been chased down by Para from Kelme, and that's the normal tactic. And Jekyll is going to sit in the wheel, and if he closes the gap, well, we'll see Jekyll attacking immediately. But they can't hang around at all, because this group is finishing very fast with Chabanel and Perino, so they have to keep it going and right to the line, because if they do start looking at each other, they could get swallowed up.
And Bernardin Brochard's coming off the front of the bunch too. He's got the green jersey on as leader on the points coming. He's actually second over on that one. Can he get the victory? Can he pull him back suddenly? This whole race has blown apart the seams in the final 800 metres, and thundering along here doing something like 35 miles an hour. Bernardo here trying to get it, the Spanish rider for the Malaysia MSS, and is he going to make it? And they're still coming from behind, but I don't think they're going to catch this fellow. The two behind him are still there as Brochard comes across. This is not a time to look over your shoulder. He says, yes, I've got it. So Bernardo is going to take that one. He does take the victory and the time bonuses. And the other rider from the Milanese team, the Yeka, is pleased with that one, as the rider finishing into third spot, Para, and Brochard did not quite make it. And looking through the riders coming in now, it seems that Vunderkroff has made it. He might have lost a second coming across the line there, but that won't give him any problems. He's still got the yellow jersey. As we look back at the elation here for Bernardo from Spain, and those riders from the Milanese MSS team, they certainly throughout the whole of this race have given us something to look at. And I like this, Sean, when teams come on and they have a go like that. They've been doing it throughout the whole of the race. It's been a race like that. You could not predict each day what's going to happen.
No, certainly not. The Milanese team have been really strong in this race, and the last 2 days exceptionally strong. We see him so much the fore yesterday in the final. They had quite a lot of riders up there, you know, after that Col de Tanneron, and today of course we see him very active here, like, and they just really went out and rode to get this victory, and Bernard Beau definitely deserves it, and the team, you know, they deserve to get a stage win out of this. And Yecker of course was around quite a long time, you know, doing very well, showing very strong shape in this race, so you know, a deserving victory for the team.
Well, according to my notes here and looking back through my archives, don't hold me to it by the way, so the rest of the riders coming in here, having a little go. Sean?
Is that Rodriguez? I think
It is.
He's probably after having an easy ride today in the wheels and winning the sprint once again.
Well, he got his victory yesterday, so he's coming with that little group. Oh, Tyler Hamlin's coming there, so he's home and dry and quietly warm in the sunshine. Don't hold me to this, you people who go zapping onto the old internet and just check up on the results, but I have to go through and check mine. But at the moment I've got down in my notes that Bernard Beau has never won a race before at this level. I mean, as a junior, of course, at under 23 and what have you, but according to my little notes here, he's been a pro since 1999, riding for Vesa Boavista. He comes from Valencia in Spain. He's been a pro, as I say, all those years in 99, and he's been a hard-working man. He moved on to various teams, finally ending up now with the Les MS, and he's got a victory. There in the background is beautiful scenery, the backdrop behind Nice, which was very much formed by the Brits yet again. We were at Cannes the other day that the Brits went out there and made it all happen, and we did the same thing here too as well. And at least I hope we've got both Brits finishing, because we did see Julian Wynne go through on the last lap. I didn't spot Bradley Wiggins, but I know he was saying that very much he would like to finish here too as well. So that's it then. In the background, that's where they've been racing over towards those mountains, coming back down in towards the bay, and then along the front. Gorgeous sight, isn't it, eh? I bet you're packing your bucket and spade and you're not in hanky now, aren't you, out there looking for a trip to come in? It's rather cold if you're going paddling. Are we going for a swim after this, Sean? I
don't think this year. It's a little bit on the cold side today.
You both the other year we're going for a swim. Well, I hope you enjoyed that coverage, by the way. We'll have to wait until we get on to the presentation of the jerseys and the people coming up. I think we might have a bit of rabbits here, because I think we finished actually ahead of schedule. We all thought they might get running late today, but I think we're due to finish at 4 o'clock. That's Central European time. It's now 3:30, so you might get replays ad nauseam like this. That's a good English word, isn't it? And we will fill in for you and give you the rundown. You'll be able to see the presentation of the jerseys, and if you're switching on early for the cycling, sorry, the athletics, and caught up with the cycling, then that'll be starting at around about 4 o'clock with the World Championships indoor from Birmingham, Tim Hutchins and Derek Redmond. That's you watching our live program this afternoon. So we'll just sort of fill in bits in here and there before they come back and get the riders organised to put them up on the rostrum, where the cameramen are beginning to get there ready to pick up the pictures. A lot of building going on here. In fact, it was the Brits that did it, by the way, because they came down here, discovered, in fact it was around about 1750, 1755 or thereabouts when they discovered the sunny charms of this part of the world. And of course in those days it took you at least 2 weeks to get down to Nice, even from Calais as well. But we came down here, the Brits, and that's where the Promenade des Anglais is named after the Brits that did it. And of course we built a casino here, and that's where people lose their money. But you couldn't have bet your shirt on the result like we had today, or in fact the overall general classification either. It looks very tranquil out there with the sea. Yesterday the waves were coming across the beach, and as we drove in from the finish yesterday at Cannes into Nice, the waves are coming over the front, bringing in all the sand and depositing there. It's something you don't see normally. And well, when we go on to the presentation of the jerseys, I hope you'll stay with us rather than say, well, we know the results now, goodbye, let's finish. Just do stay with us, I hope, for the next half an hour, you cyclists out there, and you people who are not involved in cycling, but just enjoy the sport. To see the beautiful scenery here makes you think ready for your holidays, but also because I would like to think you'll be here to watch the presentation of that yellow jersey to Wunderkopf as we go to the stage winner now, because it's very significant, the victory today, and there'll be many emotional things on our screen, and we've had in the last week some very emotional moments too as well, and this man here is going to go back to Spain, and I'm sure everybody in Portugal picking this up. I'm not quite sure if Eurosport is broadcast in Portuguese, but if so, our Portuguese commentator, because not all the commentators are on side at the finish, will be really going crazy about this one. The last major Portuguese victory, I mean, this fellow's from Spain, but rather than Portuguese rider, must be someone like Agostinho. But you recently arrived with a very good Portuguese rider, Sean, didn't you?
Yes, Cássio da Silva was also quite a good rider. He won stages in the Tour of France, Tour of Italy, had the yellow jersey in both events. But we've never seen a Portuguese team, I think, to be as strong as this Milanese team. You know, they've come to Spain to race. The occasion they come to France to some of the races, but this team is really a really strong team, and a lot of very, very good riders, as we see in the last couple of days.
Well, he's going to be interviewed, and we should get it on television for you, but he is a Spanish rider for the Portuguese team, and we're now going to get an interview coming up on our screen. A lovely look back down there as the fountains, I suppose at some time back in Britain we get them freeze over, but not downhill. It was very cold yesterday. Lovely shot. We'll put you more in the picture about this is right down the centre, by the way, of we're just right at the top of your screen now, going down, almost disappearing. We go across the bay. We're just down there. In fact, our hotel is that big block on the right hand side. Oh dear, what a hard life it is, walking all the way to the start this morning. And for Wunderkopf, he'll be coming up to get that yellow jersey. At the moment, he's had so many emotions over these past few days that this will be remembered in many ways. He knows his part of the world too, by the way, Wunderkopf. He's been training here. I haven't seen Stephen Broche here yet a while, but Stephen has said that he's been had Wunderkopf coming down here doing training, and he's used this part of the world, and so now for Wunderkopf coming up here, an emotional moment for him. He's trained here, and also we understand that Kovalev was actually going to build a house down here, and Kovalev came into this race this year for the Cofidis team on the basis that he would go to win it. Kovalev last year finished in 4th spot. He finished 3rd on the stage up to Montferrand the other day. We saw that this stage up to Montferrand was the day that Wunderkopf technically took over the yellow jersey. An emotional moment it was too as well, and now I'm sure he's going to do what he said all along. He's going to dedicate this to his friend Kovalev. And he said the other day that he is here, Kovalev, in my heart, and he'll be with me in this race. Well, he's got the yellow jersey. What a moment. That's for Kovalev. The sport of cycling sees moments of great emotion, it sees moments of humour, fun and farce. And you see it live on Eurosport. And Sean, we've had an amazing week. We've got some time before we close the programme, but your thoughts now on what's happened in the past 7 days?
Well, we've had a fabulous race. We have, the day we had the accident Kovalev, which was a really black day for everybody, and it have knocked the lot of riders are still, quite down over that, and especially the guys who were close to him, the guy who was trained with him, like Wunderkopf here, of course. But the race itself had been, a very exciting race, very good racing, a lot of surprises with Frigo, riding so well in the time trial, taking off the jersey convincingly, and then having to go out because of sickness.
Well, taking over the green jersey now, Brochard, he was second in the competition this morning. I'm not quite sure whether he got some points to take it over off Wunderkraft. There's a little bit of confusion there at the moment. Brochard, another battler. We've seen some young guys coming through this race, haven't we? And we've seen some established riders as well, like Brochard, still pitching in there. I think it's a good start to the season on Eurosport coming cycling this year. What do you think, Sean?
Yes, it's been a good start when you have a race like we've had in this Paris-Nice. It's a great start to the season, and I think the thing to remember is, you know, the smaller teams here have rode very well and have, you know, been up there. The Milanese guys who have been really a big surprise, but you take the Le Brioche, Le Boulanger with Chabanel, like very, very impressive in the latter days, and then AG2O with Brochard, who was sick for a number of days in the beginning of the tour, has finished very well. We see him yesterday up there, and today he was, you know, very strong, finishing fourth, I think, on the stage today, coming out of the bunch very strong in the end. So he's finishing the tour very strong. So for those teams who are looking for the wild card for the Tour de France, it's a good finish for them, because that's what the Tour de France looks for. You know, they have to finish the race well. It's not just good enough to win a stage in the beginning and not be seen anymore with all the team. If they're present with a lot of team members and finish the race very strong, that's what the Tour and the Society Tour, I think, looks for when they're giving out those wild cards.
That lies ahead. We'll have that for you also on Eurosport. We've got a lot of classics coming up in the next few weeks. We're going to be out there covering all those big classics, mainly in Belgium and northern France, and we look forward to company there. We also got some of the tours coming up from Spain, the Semaine Catalan. We'll have that on Eurosport for you as well, and we also got the Tour of the Basque country. So plenty of activity on cycling for you coming up now, you cycling fans. As we look back down into this remarkable, lovely bay, and as we're waiting now for the American rider Tyler Hamilton to come forward. And Sean, we've been talking about this has happened and that has happened. Who would have expected Hamilton to do what he did yesterday? I won't say he was a wheel sucker, but he was always in the race over the years, second in the Tour of Italy last year, and also a man who was a very good mountain climber in time trial. But he did something we've not seen before yesterday.
Yes, that's it's something different, a different tactic from Hamilton, and where is it coming from? That is the question is being asked, and you know, is it Bernard Rees's, you know, make them do this? And I presume it's been worked out between the two of them, and you know, it's going to make Hamilton maybe a more aggressive rider. We've seen Jalabert the last 2 years doing a lot of that sort of thing, going away in breaks in the Tour of France and other races on a long lone breaks or a small group away. So Hamilton was out to do something the same yesterday. So possibly it's Bernard Rees's tactic.
Well, certainly when I spoke to him this morning, he'd got an eye on and said to Hamilton, go, he said, and it's up to you, and off he went. Of course, he had that moment when he skidded and fell off on the oily patch, and that's what lost his momentum. So he came in yesterday with a group of riders, just switched on. They were interested to know yesterday. He finished with Bradley Wiggins, the young British rider coming through, a pursuiter, winner of medals in the Commonwealth Games last year and the World Championships, and Bradley has survived this course as well. We haven't seen him come in now, but he was determined to finish the race, as was Julian Wynne. But again, I think now looking at Tyler Hamilton, he's got a new coat to wear, hasn't he? We've not seen him do this before, and you say, Sean, it certainly gives you a lot of confidence. He's got the King of the Mountains competition jersey. Eric Decker's won the Eric Broking Grand Prix, just coming out ahead. And that's interesting, because Eric Decker's had a lot of problems recently, and I thought his season was going to be virtually brought to a halt, but he's just won the Eric Broking Grand Prix.
Yes, that's true. Decker was he wasn't going to go to the Trino Adriatico, which I think was his program earlier on. He said he wasn't feeling good. He had a knee problem, and he was only coming out of that, so he seems to have recovered from that quite well, winning the Eric Broking Grand Prix. It's a race which is a difficult one to win, you know, against all the Belgium and Dutch riders, because on that terrain you have a lot of very strong riders for that sort of a race.
There is a picture. Andrei Kivilev, first, second and third on the Pyrenees are on the rostrum. And what an emotional moment, but how they battled. Celebration second for the Once team, David Rebellin third for Gerolsteiner. Behind behind in fourth spot, Jaska from on-state team. Fifth, Chavanel from the Boulay-Zabroche. But last year's winner, Vinokurov, has had it 2 on the trot now. Long will you remember this victory. The funeral, by the way, is taking place tomorrow. He has his supporters club locally, Vinokurov. They've come down to be here. And this is Vinokurov's little daughter with him. And I'm sure that also he'll have the thoughts of Kivelev's young boy, only a few months old, will never see his father. And to Kivelev's wife too. And I'm sure all the people back in Britain, all across the world, will join us in once more extending our condolences to the family. But life goes on. Bike racing always brings surprises, sometimes the wrong sort. It's a sport which people come into and survive despite the ups and downs. The young riders coming on board, looking for their future in a sport which is out there on the roads across the whole of Europe and across the whole of the world. And young riders join the sport. They love riding their bikes, and when you get something to show for it, as does Sylvain Chavanel, then that's something again to remember in the years to come. Perhaps, as far as France is concerned, this man might be one day on the top of the podium for the Tour de France. That's what they're waiting for in France. France, really the hotbed and home of cycle racing, has now got an up-and-coming champion, Sylvain Chavanel, winner last year, the Trophy de Grandpeur and the 4 Days of Dunkirk. He's ridden the Tour de France twice, 36th and 65th. And on the back of his performance this time round, I think we'd like to see this young rider battling with the best in July. Next on our programme, Setmana Catalana will be up there for the whole of that week, and my colleague David Harmon will be taking you through that one. I'll be back then for the individual single-day classes after that. Chavanel now is saying, oh, sorry, no, it's my mistake, it was the report here. He's asking now, did you think about the victory before the stage? He said, yes, I was in a good shape. Tour of Valencia, I was second overall. So today I just tried to do my best. So I'm going to leave Nice feeling very happy. And he's asking, what about the team? How did they go with you? Well, it's the second time we've come here to France. We finished second. And to have 2 riders in the top 10 is very good for our team. He's asking, did the team give much help you in the stage? He said, yes, we had to attack throughout the stage. And as far as we're concerned, just being in the top 10 without getting a stage, it wasn't good enough for us, so we just had to try and get a victory in the race, and of course they've just done that. And he's asking now about this year, what's going to happen with your team? He said, he says he's going to run the Criterium International is his reply now, and he's asked if he thinks he's going to win it. He says no, we'll so there we are then. Well, we're covering the Criterium International Tour, that's the 29th and 30th of March. Sean, I just think, who's just arrived there?
Yes, well, I've just seen a group of riders come in, and Bradley Wiggins has finished with the group.
Well, I think we're coming towards the end of our programme then, seeing Bernardo has just won the stage. Sean, a final few words from you?
Well, a very interesting race, a very exciting race. a lot of action in the race. For us commentators, it was a great race because we had a lot to talk about, but for a lot of the riders, not as good. The guys who were not in good form were not too happy. Some of them I spoke to, they said the race was too hard this year, but for the riders who were in good shape, well, it was easier to make the difference and you know, to get to break up the bunch a lot. So it works both ways, but certainly it was one of the most difficult Paris-Nices we've had.
Well, we've seen some young riders, including Chavan out there. We're just looking across from our commentary point here into the sunshine to see Bradley Wiggins. He's finished the race too. I'm pretty certain that Julian Wynne will have battled his way around as well. So we've got the Cement Catalana coming up next week, Criterium International, and it looks like we're going back to some more interviews. And of course in April we've got the Tour of Flanders, Ghent-Wevelgem, Paris-Roubaix, Flèche-Wallonne, Amstel Gold, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, all on Eurosport coming up. Now a comment from Vindercroft.
It's a great victory for you. I wanted this victory from the start. But I wanted it from this Wednesday, and I wanted Quick to win. So I did it for him. I did it for him and his family. And I think he's happy for that, and happy for me. And I'm also very pleased with this victory.
André était à vos côtés pendant les derniers jours de la course.
Did you feel strongly that Quick was with you during the race? Yes, I felt when I won the stage at Montferrand, I was stronger with him, and I had to be 3 more days on the race to keep the yellow jersey. And I could do it, and it's great. But from the start, we were talking about you as a potential winner.
Vous aviez le sentiment d'avoir la force nécessaire?
Did you feel you could do it? Could you win this race? Yes, like I did last year, I prepared this race specially. I knew Wednesday was a very hard day, very hard moment for me, and I feel it myself. I had to give everything to win, and I'm sure he's happy.
Ou est-ce que vous aviez déjà tout en main pour triompher ici?
You built your victory on the Montferrand, and from Montferrand you had the right to win. Yes, I know. I feel that, and I had a lot of strength, and I felt I could win. I could not give in, and I just had to keep concentrated. And I gave my maximum.
Désormais, vous avez l'intention de courir où? La prochaine course sera laquelle?
And I did it. What is your next race? Yeah, I'm not sure at the moment, but normally it's Milan-San Remo. But this week was a very hard week for me, and I will have to think about that. I don't know yet.
Merci beaucoup, Alexandre. Merci
this
beaucoup.
Week I will decide if I go to San Remo or the International Criterium. Thank you.
Well, there you are. You have the overall standings, provisional one, but that looks, as we read out to you earlier on our final notes here, the top 10 riders, a great mixture there, you can see, by nationalities and teams too as well. So in the background, the bay at Nice, with, again, I'm sure Paris-Nice will be talked about for many, many years yet to come. I hope you've enjoyed being with Sean Kelly here and myself, David Duffield. After this, we're going off to athletics with Tim Hutchins and Derek Redmond. We'll be there indoors in Birmingham. We're outdoors in Nice. And thanks for joining us on what has been a very, very interesting and emotional Paris-Nice. Bye-bye.